Welcome to our GTC talk. I'm William Falcon, founder and CEO of Lightning.ai.
And I'm Luke Antiga, CTO at Lightning.ai.
And for those of you who are not familiar, Lightning.ai is the creator of PyTorch Lightning. So you have seen us on GitHub at some point, working on the open source framework. And today we're going to show you how to get hard to find GPUs at low prices with NVIDIA's DGX Cloud and Lightning AI Studio, our cloud enterprise platform. NVIDIA has been a partner to us since about 2020 in the open source. We work with them to do a few things, namely all their Nemo stuff that they've been working on, all the LLMs have been trained using PyTorch Lightning, for example, and are kind of built on top of that as well. And then there are other things that we do. Most recently, we released our compiler called Thunder as well. And that's a way to speed up your models as well for either training or inference workloads. So I would encourage you to check that out. And this is kind of our third act, I guess, is DGX integration with Lightning Studios. And there will be many more acts as well. So NVIDIA became an investor recently in November 2024. And so, stay tuned for a lot more cool stuff to come from us together. Now, starting from our roots, we came from open source, obviously, and so this is kind of the growth of PyTorch Lightning. This chart is so out of date, like I can't update this every week, but it's basically about 220 million downloads at this point. So PyTorch Lightning gets like anywhere between 10 and 12 million per month, and like it continues to change and increase. And on the platform itself, so that represents about 3 million developers across the world that use our products. And we have other open source repos as well. It's not just PyTorch Lightning. And then on their platform today, we have over 270,000 users who use our platform to do everything from training, develop, etc. And we have close to on the platform about 5,000 enterprises already, and across open source and everything else, north of 10,000. I would assume it's even maybe double at this point because we took that number many years ago, right? Enterprises who use our products in production. Some things that we do and we help you do. So I'll call a few examples here. So I already talked about NVIDIA. Another one here is Cisco. So Cisco builds a lot of their internal AI systems using our platform as well on the enterprise side. And so a lot of this new AI stuff that they're pushing out as well, we partner with them to do that. And then you have I'm showing you kind of the north range of customers. Then you've got like the startup side of this. So you've got some good notes. You've got some use that app. The AI that they use there is powered by our platform as well. We work with that team fairly closely. And then things like Runway ML and Stability AI, those were they used our open source tools like PyTorch Lightning to train their models at scale as well. And then recently, the probably most recent example here is LinkedIn. So they pre-trained a 100 billion parameter LLM using PyTorch Lightning at scale and worked closely with our team on speed optimizations. Like they released this great package called kernels, Liger kernels as well. And so we've been working closely with them on like how do you integrate these kernels faster, and how do you work with our Thunder compiler as well to do a lot of this stuff, right? So, anyways, this is a small sampling of our customer base and who we work with, and the kind of things that we can do for you, right? I guess a lot of people at GTC are fairly technical, would be my assumption. But in general, this holds true, right? So if you want to go from zero to AI on your own, it's pretty much impossible unless you're like a PhD or have that knowledge. And here's the reason, right? So the technology is pretty complicated. I find that most customers lack imagination. I'm not like trying to pun on anyone here, but AI goes beyond just summarizing text. Like there's like so many other use cases you can use, and also not everything has to be an LLM. I know maybe it's not the popular thing, but like so many use cases can be solved using other things. If you make the investment and you buy the wrong tool, so what's happened in the market recently is that there are a lot of point solutions and startups kind of selling you a bunch of stuff. If you buy the wrong stuff, it's going to cost you a lot, not just on the cost, the literal dollars spent on that tool, but the time wasted where you could have been using the right tool to achieve the job, right? And so this is why AI doesn't make it to production mostly. And then talent, like it is pretty complicated to hire the right people, and you have to kind of retrain normal non-AI developers into AI developers, which is kind of a big hurdle. So we solve a lot of these through our products holistically, right? If you want to get to AI, this is what needs to happen. So you basically have to embark on this journey from like data cleaning, and I'm kind of capturing all the data stuff here, labeling, etc., prepping, optimizing. Then you might pre-train a model. I actually think people should be able to do this more than they think. It's actually not that expensive and cheap, and we can do it pretty easily in the platform. Then you have to evaluate and then probably fine tune on top of that. And sometimes you find a pre-trained model and you fine tune on top of that, or then you deploy. But like where we find is most people end here. They deploy like what amounts to be a POC. Getting AI into production itself and scaling it turns out to be fairly complicated. So our platform has two parts to it. There's an AI hub that basically allows you to just jump to the final step and find what you want out of the box and deploy it to production. The beginning of the demo here, I'm going to actually show you what that looks like, and then we're going to step back into it. So basically, you're coming to me and you're saying, "Hey, I want DeepSeek R1 deployed." Instead of you having to figure out how to do this yourself, you go to AI Hub and you say, "Cool, here's DeepSeek R1. I hit deploy. It runs on my cloud infra." This literally takes like 5 minutes. I'm not joking, right? And this runs within your private VPC. This is a dedicated endpoint, so you're not paying by tokens or anything like that. It's fully secure. And then you can do things like fine tune and deploy, which we're going to show you. We have pipelines on there as well. What amount to workflows? And then if you don't like our out of the box things that are in the AI Hub that are created by us and other partners in the community, then you use the rest of the platform studios to basically do any of what you want here. So you want to sit there and do data cleaning all day, you can do it. You want to fine tune, you can do it. You want to deploy, you can do it. All of this can be done in the studio. This is a no code experience. This is a full code experience. It just depends what you're looking for. So you're kind of wondering like who are we like in terms of a platform? Well, we're not really like any one tool. We're actually more like a DIY platform that most people try to build internally. So like if you were to do that and you kind of project out to 5 years, who do you like to be with that platform? That's kind of where we are today. So we tend to augment general efforts, right? So here are the stages in which we can help you. So if you're thinking about building a platform, I would ask, like, is this really a differentiator for you? And if it's not, then probably we should be talking because we can be that platform for you. And you can still build your own workflows and still have customizability and kind of DIY it, but you have a good foundation, which is our platform as well, which I'll show in a minute. If you're in the process of building a platform, then we can help you usually, where we'll augment. Maybe you're stuck in a place like, hey, my fine tuning isn't as good as it should be, and I need help, or like I want to do deployments, but I haven't gotten to that yet. We can help you do that. But generally, we kind of leave you alone here because we know it's going to be quite the grind to do this. And what we find is most customers end up on the other side with this and end up hating the thing that they built, mostly because it's hard to maintain. Maybe the people who built it left already. And so like you have this massive burden now where like you're maintaining what amounts to be kind of like your own, think about like Slack or Teams, like you're building your own teams on Slack. Why? Right? Like there's plenty of good tools out there that you can use on your own. So here we usually come in and help you kind of like offload that burden and transition your team into this. So the types of customers we work with, right? So this is kind of largely them. So at the bottom, you have the foundation model company. So if you work for a foundation model company, then what we can help you do is first help you not have to build your own training or serving infrastructure, right? We can still partner with all the clouds under the hood, and like obviously you have access to DGX cloud, so you have the best compute available. And there we can help you do all the tools you need, like experiment management. You can store models on the platform, like model hub type stuff, train, fine tune, development, all that stuff. Like we can help you do so you can do your R&D quickly and get to building your model, right? If you're kind of one level above that, where you're taking a model and doing something with it, like these companies like a Harvey, Ryder, Cursor, where we usually can help you is deploy those models really, really fast. Your own private models in your private VPCs, highly scalable, so you can manage them and understand what they're doing and scale them out. If you kind of go a level above that and like you're kind of using these tools under the hood, for enterprises, if you have an ML team, then we can basically augment what that team is doing. We normally kind of start with the development side of things. So like when you're training a model or you're deploying a model, there's like an R&D component to that. That's kind of where teams start with, and we help you do that. And then we help you scale out the other parts of it, right? And then if you step up one level, if you have a company that has no ML teams and you have developers, then what we're going to do is help you out. And when we have a lot of things in the AI Hub already that you can start with. So those things we'll be able to provision them in your cloud. And then those developers can, they don't have to know AI. They just treat that like a black box, integrate into their own systems, and then they can learn the rest of the platform to make their own versions if they want to improve it, right? And then at the very top, we have kind of enterprises that don't really have any of this stuff here. And that really we can give you like out of the box solutions. So like if you want pre-built agents or experts or anything like that that's out of the box, you can find it in the AI Hub or talk to us and we'll build you a specialized one for your domain as well. And today we're actually going to show how to do most of these things here, right? So this is what AI Hub looks like here. So again, this is taking you to the very, very end. And that's really what we're going to spend about half the demo working through. And then the rest of it, I'm going to show you how to, if you wanted to do any of these steps in Studio, how you would do that. I'm obviously not going to go through all these steps because it's quite a lot. So I'm just going to give you a tour of the Studio and how you would use it for general development. But keep in mind that even if I'm fine-tuning a model or deploying a model, it's that particular use case that I chose to do. And you can really do anything else with the studio, like clean data, like people even do like coding interviews on it, like they can pre-train models with it, they can evaluate. The pattern is very simple. You like use this for your development. Now you can connect your local ID like VS Code or Cursor or whatever, so you don't have to literally be on the browser or Jupyter Notebook. And then from there, if you're serving a model, you like package up an image, you deploy it, you can use your own deployment stuff, you can use ours. If you're training a model, you can submit a job from here to train the model, you can submit a job to your thing to do it. So it's really kind of the operating system here is where it comes back to. So today we're going to cover a few things. So we're going to go through a financial advisor expert. And basically, this thing has been fine-tuned. It's a fine-tuned and deployed, well, 70 billion model, actually 8 billion under the hood for this. And and so we're going to start at the top level. This is like the final use case that you would have in a company is going to be something like this, right? And then next to that, I would put agents where like it's kind of like this, but this thing can take actions, can maybe do research for you and so on. We're not going to show you an agent, but the process is exactly the same. And then if you step down one level of abstraction, you're talking about workflows now. So this is probably where you spend most of your time either building these tools yourself or evaluating companies that can give you these tools, right? So if you're looking at something that can fine tune and deploy something for you, we already have that stuff pre-built out of the box in pipelines, or you can build your own as well, which is really powerful, right? So it's full customizability as well. And then if you step down one level and you say, okay, how would I build a pipeline? Well, usually you'll take a model to do that, right? And so if all you need is a model endpoint and an API, you can also do that, and we'll show you that in a second as well. Now, in terms of how you can actually get the platform for yourself, these are the ways that we can do it. So there's the SaaS model. So this is you just log into the website, you use it, no problem. And then from there, if you want, we can give you a private VPC as well. So your data plane is secure. Everything I'm showing you here is SOC 2 and HIPAA compliant, by the way. So all of that is already taken care of for you. And then if you prefer to have your data plane fully secure, this is how we deploy it mostly at like like regulated industries, then that data plane will be fully owned by you, and then we'll kind of orchestrate with your team into that data plane. And then we do on-prem as well, but it's a case by case basis. It just depends what you're looking to do. So that's kind of largely an overview of the platform. Great. So again, you can go to Lightning.ai. You can log in here and then make sure you provide like a business email, like a corporate email or an academic email in there as well. That we have a verification process, so it'll just expedite that and get you in the door quicker. Once you log in, then you'll be taken to a studio and you do a few things. But today I'm going to start with AI Hub up here, right? So Luca put together a few of these. So I'm going to ask him to kind of go over kind of what we did here. But what do we want to start with first? Do we want to just kind of show the financial advisor one
Yeah,
working
let's
already?
start from the bottom, the end of
Yeah,
the pipe.
great. Okay.
There should be
So
one already running, so but you can start, of course, one with a button.
yeah, great. No worries. So I'm going to go into the platform now. And here we have different projects. Ultimately, these are called team spaces internally. So this is going to give you like a budget and kind of isolate the data into a single team. So we set this up for GTC here. Okay, so here you see the work that was done by my team here. Luca included in there. So we have no studios running right now, but right now we're going to start with the financial advisor agent that's running. So this is under Jobs tab. You'll see here you have deployments, and you see that I have a financial advisor expert here. I'm going to open this in a new tab. So this financial advisor expert was fine-tuned using a special data set that we have. So I'm going to show you how to build up to this. I'm just going to show it to you working right now. So this thing is running. This is like a deployment. This can auto scale up and down, so it can go to zero or it can go up. So if it's at zero, then so if it scales down to zero, it means that there's no server running. So some of you call that serverless as well. And if it, it means that it's free. So if there are no requests coming to it, you won't incur any costs. That's great for applications that maybe have patterns where like during the day they have a huge load and at night they don't. And then they can also auto scale up with demand. So the more requests you have, the more they scale, right? Here you have the playground, which we can test. So I can actually do a test on the model right now. So I'm going to say, hey, what is the security, right? And this is going to ping the model here. This is the API. So you would take this thing and integrate it into your products now, right? And so we'll wait here for this to respond. It is a thinking model, and this UI that we're using doesn't have streaming, but if I did, it would just start streaming directly, right? But you see that it did it here, right? Okay, so what do we mean by security? It's kind of like making sure, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's see this model. Um, yeah, so access to something. So I think we need to tweak the params a bit. What is a security? Yeah, it didn't quite give me the best answer. Security or stock, right here. So we'll come back and get a better answer from this thing. So then how good these models are just depends how long you fine tune them for, right? So if this thing was fine tuned for like 5 minutes, it may not be great. If it's fine tuned for a few hours, then it'll be a lot better, right? Yeah, so here we go. So it tells you like if you buy a stock or blah blah blah. So this is a reasoning model. A security is a broad term that encompasses ownership in various forms, such as stock, bonds, et cetera, right? So that's largely this is a tiny model. It's an 8 billion parameter model. So it's largely based on the data set that we gave it. So you can build more APIs here if you want to, right? You can also monitor. So you see that we made the request, you see the latency here, and then you see the uptime, right? We also show you the cold starts. So you can actually analyze how quick a model came up and where it had bugs. And then here you can see the logs, right? So this is you can download them, you can stream them to whatever your favorite logging framework is. You can see events here, releases. So I can make new releases and roll things back. So this is like as a developer managing a deployment. So you've got this API here with this thing. Okay, so now how do we actually build this, right? So this is an end product. This is good to go. It's already there, right? If you wanted to run this from the AI Hub yourself, you could do that. You could just come here, right? You hit deploy. You choose the account. I'm going to run this on DGX Cloud. And then I'm saying auto scaling 0. So, I want it to scale down to 0 when it's not in use. And then I hit deploy. And that's all it takes. This is a no-code experience. By design, it's a no-code experience, right? If you're looking for full code, then you probably want to stay tuned for the next part of the talk. So this is it. So that will eventually lead to this here, right? So it'll take a few minutes to start up and do the thing. So that's really it. You can find all these models like this in the AI Hub. Anything else to add on there, Luca, about the financial advisor expert before I move into the fine tuning?
Yeah, that we don't have to be the ones who create all these agents. Like as a user, you can take a model, fine tune it, and then using the product, create a container to power one of these endpoints, right? So this underneath that is the ability to really easily serve anything that runs in a container with auto scaling, and you're good to go, and production grade quality.
Yeah, and the fine tuning of this, I mean, do you know how long we fine tuned it for? Let's see here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
this
it's
was
pretty fast.
Yeah, we fine-tuned
Sorry.
it for not a long time, but we created, interestingly, and we walked through the process. We created a reasoning data set out of like raw data, and then we just fine-tuned it for an hour.
Yeah.
But you could
So this
also,
costs, just for context, this costs less than $1 to do. So I think people are like under the impression that fine tuning is thousands of dollars. It's not. First, it's a no code experience. It ran on an L40 GPU. You don't need H100s for everything, right? A lot of the work that we do is making models fit into smaller GPUs as well that you can get easier. And then this ran for, like I said, we fine tuned it for an hour and it cost about 52 cents to do this. Now I own this model permanently. I'm not paying for the tokens. I'm not sharing the model with other people. All the data stays secure in my private cloud. So it's very, very, I think a good, value for your dollar here. Okay, so let's go into the fine-tuning process itself. So how did I create this financial advisor expert? So I'm stepping back one step now. So I would take something like this. This is a pipeline that basically takes fine-tuning and deploying. And there are various methods of fine tuning, of course. We picked one under the hood, and we make those decisions depending what we think is best here. But you're free to change what you do on your own. Um, but if you're going to use ours, we're going to get the one we give you. So I hit deploy here, and I can choose the time interval here. So we're just going to do it for 30 minutes, but ideally you should do it for a few hours. Depends on how much data you have as well, right? We're going to choose the file. The file here is this financial data set that I have. Now, the magic, or the hard part, I would say, is actually creating that data set, which it's actually not that hard because we have a way to do that, and I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes here. So you see that the data set's been uploaded. Now, in reality, you might have terabytes of data, right? Like as far as the platform's concerned, it does not matter how much data you have. We'll run this stuff anyways, and you can connect things like EFS buckets, S3, like GCS, whatever you want, and bring that stuff on here. Okay, so I'm going to use, this is going to route this to DGX Cloud under the hood. So you see that here, and we're going to use this H100 to do this fine tuning. This is a 70 billion parameter model, so that's why we're going to use that bigger machine as well. So I'm going to hit run, and that's going to start doing the thing. Now we already have, so I'll show you this kind of starting, and then I'll show you one that we already have running, right? Okay, so this one's running now, and that's it. That's really the process, right? Now, if I come here, where am I? It's one of these guys, right? That we already
Yeah, it's
started.
a fine
Yeah, it's
tune.
probably this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, great. Okay, so here we are. So this has already been running for a bit. So I can just look at the logs here to see what's going on. So you see that the loss is kind of dropping, it's doing its thing. Um, so this is the fine-tuning process. It's just going to take a while now, right? For this model to be fine-tuned. And then when it's done, it'll deploy itself. But you see under the hood, we're using like things like PyTorch Lightning. We're using obviously all the NVIDIA stack as well. So things are working. And yeah, I mean that's kind of it, right? So this will take a bit. So I guess I can't really show the end result of that because it'll take a while. But the end result is the model that we just chatted with, right? So let's step back one step, right? Because this is again the fine tuning is kind of the now we made deploying the end result easy. Okay, but what if I want to build my own expert? Sounds good. So fine tune and deploy plus your own data set. Okay, but like the data set, you're gonna come to me and say, oh, but the hard part is the data sets, right? I'm gonna say, okay, well, if you want to create a data set, we have that here. So we have the ability to create a reasoning data set. And basically what you do here is you upload a PDF, right? So I'm going to go ahead and choose the PDF here or a collection of PDFs. So this folder here. Yes, I do. Okay, so this we happen to be feeding in some financial um, training material that financial advisors would use to do this, and that's how we're going to train this. I'm going to run this thing, and that's really it. From here, it's going to actually create a synthetic data set for reasoning, and then you can use that reasoning data set to then fine tune your model, right? So all these steps are kind of pretty much automated for you nowadays as well. And I'm probably soon we'll have like a whole pipeline that just kind of does all this stuff end to end for you. But yeah, so under the hood, do you want to talk high level about how we're doing this synthetic data generation, Luca?
Yeah, there are many approaches nowadays, but one typical approach is to try to extract nicely formatted text from the PDF, which is in itself something that is not really easy to do. You can just go in and just read the characters, but there are many models that can do the next generation OCR, where they not only recognize the characters but also the flow of the text. So you get a nice text out of it, and then after that, you use a reasoning model to say, okay, given this chunk of text, where you chunk it in a strategic way, formulate questions, give me answers based on the text, and then the question answer chain of thought triplets, you can use them to do the fine tuning that we were doing on the 70 billion model. So this is what this does. First, it goes through extracting text from the PDF in a good format, and then the second one is generating n number of questions that you can configure to populate your data set. Now, we already have a deployment running. If you go to deployments, there's one that has been running, and we can see the data being generated real time. If you go to deployments in your team space.
This one? Yeah.
Reasoning data generator, yes, that is one. And yeah, if you go back, you can see some of the question and answers and reasoning. You just need to come up with prompts that will lead the model to do these things, and then get the outputs appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of this know-how is stuff that we encode into these services, right? But again, if you're like, no, I want to do it my own way, I want to use my own techniques, that's what the rest of the product will be in a minute that I'll show you. Um, but yeah, I think this is pretty cool because it basically takes you full end to end. And the reason you wanna, for the audience here, the reason you wanna augment the data set is why? Because you can't fine-tune a reasoning model without a reasoning data set, right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
having reasoning traces, at least the world is realizing that it's kind of nice, not just because these models can like reason through things better, but also because they give you an insight of what led them to the answer. And so it's kind of a like lightweight explainability thing that is really beneficial. And so you need those yeah, sequences of thinking steps when you fine tune. Fine tune is like you can fine tune in two ways. What we showed you today is supervised fine tuning with reasoning traces. So we start from a reasoning model and we fine tune with reasoning on a specific domain. There's also reinforcement learning that will push out in a few weeks, where you can do the same thing but using rewards based on coding tasks, mathematics, or even closeness to a given text. That even increases the efficiency. But there's no one size fits all. If I had a legal data set like this one, I would go the supervised fine tuning route. If I had a more kind of strict verifiable set of tasks, like a process being solved or code being written, then I would go the reinforcement learning route.
Yeah, that's great. And then in terms of the cloud stuff here, so again, we're using an H100 here. Um, we are able to do a lot of stuff on smaller GPUs, like we do a lot of work on that. But I think through the partnership with DGX Cloud, one main advantage is that you're able to get a lot of this compute. So if you come to us and you say, you can get a lot of this stuff on demand. There's You don't have to even talk to us. You just get in, log in, you get access to the machines. But if you come in and you say, hey, I need 500 H100s for a time period, then we can work with our DGX partners to kind of provision that and make it available through the platform as well, right? So
Yeah.
definitely please reach out if you're training models. We have a lot of people pre-training foundation models on the platform today. And they're using quite a few thousands of GPUs to do that as well. And by the way, when you're doing that kind of work, the platform is really going to give you more like very, if you want it, very clean, just like SSH access to this stuff, and then you can bring your own stack, right? So you don't have to change your code at all. You don't have to change your workflows. It's really bring everything. And what we are going to do on top of it is add fault tolerance, add all the security, permissions, cost measurements, all that stuff on top as well. Anything you want to add on that, Luca?
No, it's fine. Like DGX Cloud allows us to access machines of a certain kind, especially right H100, H200s, and today we have something running on H200s that we can show you that we deployed. It's the full R1 DeepSeek, the real unquantized DeepSeek model running on two H200s. And yeah, and if you go to GPUs, you can see the GPUs and that are in this mini cluster. Right now, we didn't send any requests, but if we go to the playground, yeah, as you can see, VRAM is fully allocated because this model is a large one, but that's not a problem. So the problem of scale is solved. You don't feel scale if you use a platform like Studios on top of something like
Yeah.
DGX Cloud.
So this is very fast. This took a few seconds. So, I mean, look, the advantage of doing something like this. So how would you do this, right? So how would you deploy that model? So you would come here, for example. You would
Yeah, we do
find,
have.
yeah, so you'd find one of these guys, probably this one here. And then you would hit deploy, right?
Yep.
And then you choose the cloud account, and that's it. This is what it takes. So you can have, I think DeepSeek 600 is
Yep.
a very viable alternative to a lot of these private models that you can use today. But the difference is now that you're no longer paying by the tokens, you're paying by the compute. If you already made the reservations with us, then you already paid for that, right? So you can actually run whatever you want on there. But the beauty of this is it is like in this deployment model here, this is what it looks like. The server is here in your data plane, so it's fully secure, fully isolated, and you don't have to send your data to any company you don't want to send it to, right? And you fully own the uptime of that. You fully own whatever you want. You can build a lot of tools on top of it. And as you can see, like hitting this, once I do this, like obviously it'll take a few minutes for everything to come up, but you're going to end up with basically this deployment here that we have, this guy, exactly the same thing. To multi-node inference, you don't have to think about how to do that. We've already taken care of that for you. How to make this thing fast, monitor it, do cold starts for it, the logs, events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anything else you want to add on here?
Yeah, when you run on your own account in your own VPC, we make sure that even your requests towards the model don't go through us. Of course, if you use the product this way, the way we are using it right now, it will go through our let's say main product. But you can hit the API directly, and that will stay within your VPC. And this is really important for most enterprise. And that's it. Like if the performance is really good, it's on par with what you find on artificial analysis. So now you need to decide your adventure, right? You send tokens out, you deploy it yourself, and you can really choose to do either with Lightning Studio.
Yeah. So here's where we are. I'm going to summarize kind of the process. So we got the expert deployed already. I then showed you how to build your own expert by fine tuning and deploying. Then I showed you how to build the data set to fine tune. And then we also showed you how you can just deploy a model out of the box. These are pre-built models, right? I'm going to show you two more things: how to deploy your own model, like we didn't have it on there, and two, how to build the model yourself, right? So here you go. So if I want to deploy my model, I go here, click jobs, deployment, Docker, right? So now at this point, I can use the platform has a container registry internally, so you can store containers here, for example. And if you're not used to Docker or whatever, then you're going to ignore what I'm saying, which is fine. So you can store Docker images there, or you can use your own private registry. So you could have your own at one of the cloud providers. In this case, I'm going to use a public image, which is called the Llama. Latest, I believe, is how you spell all that. Yeah. And then the port is 11434. So this is my own container with my own credentials. Here I have all the settings that I'm used to. So like, how do I want to deploy? What regions? We already choose all the regions for you. The commands that go into the container, the auto scaling for it. How do you want to scale up and down? The rules for that, authentication, readiness, environment, et cetera. So if you're like used to Kubernetes or something, this is kind of like the settings that you would get there as well. Everything that I've done today, everything can be done through a CLI or SDK, right? So you don't have to do anything on the UI, which is great for CI/CD. So I hit deploy, and that's really it. I've taken my container and I put it into production. Very straightforward, right? So again, I'm now one step back now. What if I wanted to build my own model? This is how you do it, right? Now let's actually go in one step back now, and now we're stepped out of this world here, and now we're going to step into this world, which is like, okay, how do I do any of these activities that lead ultimately to something like this, right? And we're going to use the studio for that. So how do we do that? Well, very simple. I go back to my team space here, and then I hit new studio, and then I'm going to use, again, I'm going to pick the DGX one here. So let me actually start up on DGX here, press confirm. This is going to be a CPU studio. So one thing that studios ultimately do, again, this is for the development side of things. In development in anything, in the context of anything. If you're training models, your development workflow looks like I grab code, I fine tune, I change batch sizes, I evaluate VRAM, this and that, and I iterate, I change code, etc. If I'm submitting jobs, my R&D looks like I'm checking over that code, and then before I go run an expensive job, I want to make sure it won't crash, right? If I'm deploying models, then my R&D looks like more like I have a server here, I'm running benchmarks against it, I'm debugging it, and then I'm like building containers and pushing the container registry to then deploy. So again, just think about where you are in that workflow. So this is the studio. So I'll give you a quick high level of the studio. So first and foremost, it's designed for collaboration. So I'm going to share this link, right, with Luca here, and he's going to join and be able to like work with me. So this is like, let's say I clone I grab a repo here, like PyTorch Lightning, for example. Again, I'm just going to show you like if I were to fine tune a model, but you could use JAX, you can use whatever you want. So ultimately, this is a machine that if you can do it on your laptop, you can do it here, right? So here I'm going to start running this model. So now you can treat it like your laptop. So I can grab this thing and I can start, um, you know, pip installing whatever I want on here. So I can say pip install Cause, which is, well, Cause is not available. So let's double check that. So Cause, yeah, there you go. So I'm going to install this thing, pip install Cause. Um, great. So you can run commands, you can build CUDA, you can do whatever. If you guys ever followed that CUDA mode, a lot of that was done using Studios actually, because it's a great development platform for CUDA and anything that you want to do. So you don't have to deal with like how to install these dependencies. And you see Lucas changing the code as I'm doing this there, right? So I'm going to actually test cause dash t hi, and this tells me hi. Okay, great. Now we're working together. This is not meant to replace GitHub, right? So you should have GitHub under the hood. Sorry, Git or what's the other one that people use? GitLab. So you
Okay.
can connect them and push your code there. You should still have things version controlled. So this is a single environment, right? So like you wouldn't conda activate or anything. You're already in a conda environment in essence. So now you can just go ahead and install whatever you want. You can use UV, you can use pip, doesn't matter. Really, if you're gonna say, "Oh, can the studio do X?" My answer is gonna be, "Can your laptop do X?" And if the answer is yes, then then Studio can do it, right? You want to build a conda image, sorry, a CUDA, sorry, so many acronyms, so many names, a Docker image, you can do that, right?
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is really the collaborative aspect of it. So Luca helped me fix something here. I can see that my model's running and it's running on CPUs right now. So this is kind of where I spend a lot of my work. I can connect my local ID here, right? So I can use anything like Cursor, PyCharm, JetBrains, whatever, and then that'll just work out of the box. So if you can SSH to it, you can do that. So I don't have to literally use the screen to do it, right? So now something that I can do easily is I can say, hey, give me another GPU on here, and like let's actually add a GPU here. So let's go to I don't know, something like a A10G, four of them, right? And you can see up here that I'm running on DGX Cloud, right, behind the scenes. So, okay, now this is going to request a machine, and then what we're actually going to do is switch you over, and like the whole progress is saved. Everything that you're doing is persistent, so I don't have to redo anything on here. So what you can do here, and the recommended workflow is do your setup and debugging work on a CPU and run on a GPU only when you need it. So how many times you run a GPU and you sit there and you're like debugging stuff or you're like pip installing things and setting up environments, and then all those 4 hours of GPU time you wasted, right? And so instead you should do that on a CPU in a studio, and then you switch over to the GPU when you want to run stuff. So notice we have the same thing, so I can still type the command and it's still there. And then I can just start running, right? So I'm going to start running this code here. And then you'll see up here that it'll start measuring the GPU immediately so I can actually see what's going on. So you don't need separate like experiment management stuff either, right? So I'm here and you'll see that this is running VRAM. Great. So yeah, so this is where I spend my time kind of debugging and spending working with collaborators, for example, on this part. Now, we have a lot of tools built in here on the right. So you see that we have IDEs, you see that we have ability to deploy things. So I can go ahead and start doing things like multi-node training. The workflow would be like I do a lot of my development in the studio, and then I go submit a job or multi-node. So let me submit a multi-node training job. So I come here, I choose the script I want to run, right? Again, you can bring whatever code you want in whatever format you want. It doesn't have to be PyTorch Lightning. It doesn't even have to be PyTorch. As long as you can take the environment variables that we give you and you own your own thing, then you're good to go, right? So I'm going to say 4 machines here. Each one's going to have 4 GPUs, and then I submit this. Now, if you're using PyTorch Lightning, this just works out of the box, right? So this is going to spin up the 4 nodes. It's going to do setup. It's going to do the co-location, interconnects. It has fault tolerance, all the things you would expect here, so that you can do multi-node training without babysitting it. You don't even have to use a studio environment. If you want, you can package your environment into a Docker image and submit it through a CLI as well, right? So that's a way to do that. So anyways, so here I'm submitting this multi-node job. It'll take a bit for the machines to come up, right? Then if I don't want to do that, let's say I wanted to submit jobs instead, I can do that here as well. So the difference here is that this is not going to be a multi-node thing. It's going to be like a single job, right? So you if you want to do sweeps, for example, you can do this here, right? So I could submit like 20 different jobs with different with different like learning rates or parameters, and then you'll see them all listed here. And so yeah, like I said, jobs also can also be done through Docker images. But look, I'm just barely touching the surface of the studio here. Ultimately, it's really designed to help you iterate quickly, develop with your collaborators, and then from there be able to scale it out to either a deployment or something. But we basically worked our way backwards here. We started with AI Hub here, and we said, okay, we saw an expert, we then learned to fine tune it, then we learned to generate the data set for it, then we learned to use a model or deploy a model, and now we're kind of in the full code experience where I need to tweak something and need to make my own version of this. Whatever you build here, you can then publish to the AI Hub yourself. And if you're in a company, you can have a private collection of these. So for example, everything that I showed you today is within our Lightning private AI Hub here, right? So these are only available to us internally. And then, yes, by the time you watch this, we'll make these public, but like this is private today. If you click on the public version, you'll see all the public ones. So that's kind of generally what we have. I'll talk about pricing real quick. There are two things I want to touch on. So if you're an Inception startup, we have a pricing package that's dedicated for you. So please talk to us about that. And then we're going to give you enterprise seats at a discounted rate and a few other things. You can also come and use your credits and other and like all the other things you guys have from a startup perspective. We have a lot of Inception partner startups in on the platform today. And then otherwise, you can just start with free tier here. So we have a free tier, and you can start with pay as you go. Just, us, it will give you 15 free credits per month, and then you can buy more credits as you go. And then depending what you're looking to do, you can go into the pro tier or teams, and then enterprises as well. And these are obviously the compute prices that are available there as well. So yeah, that's kind of all I have. Anything else, Luca, that you wanted to add here?
Yeah, whatever we you saw today was built through the browser on Studio directly, right? So you need to think about like changing your habits a bit. You don't have one laptop now; you have as many laptops as you want, and so they're like reproducible, duplicatable, throwaway environments, and it kind of shapes up the way you and your organization move fast through experimentation and then deployment in production. So it's kind of it, it's a usual environment, but it will speed you up tremendously. And access to compute through DGX cloud, it's kind of a very important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think what you hit on was great, which is you have to change your behaviors a bit. So like we're introducing you to like a Mac, and you guys are still using typewriters, right? And like don't try to bring typewriter things into the Mac. Like there are other behaviors you have to adjust, but like this collaboration and the ability to just like spin things up super easily like this, it's a paradigm shift we find for most companies that helps them accelerate a lot. It'll save you about 60 to 8% of cloud costs. So like the studios that we're running here, a lot of these can be on spot instances where like you'll get interrupted and we still recover you from that, right? Things auto sleep. There's like so many small features that like collectively add up to a lot of cost savings. Plus, obviously, the great rates and prices with DGX Cloud as well, and not to mention the fact that you don't have to buy 20 different tools because if you're going to do this yourself here, you're going to have to buy a different tool for this, something for train, something for data, some blah blah blah, and then you guys, what you end up doing is you take all these 20 different tools and then you string them together internally, and that is an ML platform. So if you don't know what an ML platform is, you have built accidentally an ML platform, and now you've got people managing this platform, right? And I guarantee you that's not what you want those people to be doing, right? You shouldn't hire a PhD in AI to have them manage Kubernetes. That doesn't make sense.
Awesome, looks good.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for coming. We'll be around all of GTC as well. If you find us, please talk to us. And obviously, we're always hiring as well. So if you're into compilers and high performance optimizations, look into what we're doing. If you like infrastructure, if you like building beautiful products that people love, then you should talk to us as well. So thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of GTC.